Hey, financial analysis, how's it going? I am at home sitting on my couch and I'm going to show you this cool picture. I can figure out the angle. There it is. Isn't that cool? Just like stress relieving to sit here and get this video done. Oh, and look who's here too. Here's my husband Ryan. Say hi, Ryan. What are you doing, Ryan?
Playing Bannerlord.
Bannerlord. Is it fun?
Oh yeah.
Cool. All right. So he's playing video games. I'm recording financial analysis videos. Sounds great. So we're diving into chapter 19. We're only going to cover sections 1, 3, 5, and 6. Keeping it a little bit shorter this week since we're coming up upon dead week faster than we can handle sometimes. All right, so section 1 is corporate income taxes. And that's when we have to figure out how much of the income we're making with our business is actually taxable. So you take your annual gross income, remember gross means total, and you subtract deductions. So that is your taxable income. Let's take a look at some vocab from this chapter. A corporation is a business owned by stockholders. Not all businesses are owned by stockholders, but for example, my husband's business has some employee stockholders, so they're considered a corporation. Taxable income is a portion of a company's gross income that remains after normal business expenses are deducted. So this is something you have to think about when you're doing your taxes, because as you look at the formula again, your taxable income is minus your deductions. So that worked into the formula there. We're going to skip section 2 and move along to 3. Borrowing money. Now, sometimes when you start a business, you have to borrow some money to get a jump start with it. Sometimes not. So if you don't have to borrow the money, don't do it. But if you know you're going to make the money back and you have a good promising business model, then you can do that. So we're going to, again, look at some borrowing money loan formulas in this section. A commercial loan is made to businesses rather than individuals, and business loans tend to be kind of safer to take out and have lower interest rates. Maturity value is the total amount you must repay for a loan, so remember that you're going to have some interest in there, not just your principal. And the prime rate is the lowest rate of interest available to commercial customers. So you want to take a look at prime rates when you are thinking about taking out a loan, because you want to get a rate that's as close to that as possible to save some money. So the formulas in this section involve your interest, principal, rate, time formula, which we've seen before. Time is sometimes a fraction, like 1 over 12 would be per month, times your rate, times your principal, that gives you the interest for the month. And that interest owed in addition to your principal is your maturity value. So of course, we talked before about how the bank has to make their money somehow. So you add interest, that's the money that goes to the bank, plus your principal is the actual amount you get to take out to help your business start, and that together is your maturity value. And skipping section 4 as well. So on to section 5, inflation. Everybody loves to talk about inflation. It's kind of an interesting idea that money can change value. So inflation rates, current prices, and original prices we're going to calculate in this section. Inflation is the increase in the cost in goods and services. You've probably heard of inflation before, but have you heard of deflation, which is the decrease in the cost of goods and services over time? For example, when a new iPhone model first comes out, it's usually worth a lot of money. But then if you go buy it the next year, even if you're still buying a brand new one, not even a used one, it's going to be a lower retail price if you wait on it. So a lot of electronics experience deflation. So for inflation, you're going to take your current price, subtract your original price, divide by your original price. So this is a part over whole type of formula where we can find a rate. So remember, when we're dividing in this class, usually we come out with a rate at the end. Also in this section, we're going to calculate current price. You take your original price and you add to it a little bit more. And that little bit more is the original price times the inflation rate. So that gives you the current price of the item if it's going to be a larger value. The second formula is just the first formula rearranged, but that involves some factoring, so they went ahead and gave this formula to you in the textbook. So your original price is your current price over 1 plus the inflation rate. That little 1 there represents 100% of something. So it's 100% plus a little more for the rate of inflation, and that's your denominator there for that fraction. GDP is lesson 19.6. This is a really interesting concept because it shows how a country or region can grow in their economic worth and value. So GDP is the total of values of goods and services produced in a country in a given year, and it's used to monitor the health of a country's economy. So the real GDP differs a little bit than the actual GDP because the real GDP is adjusted to include the effects of inflation because inflation is a real thing. We're going to calculate in this section how to find a real GDP. Per capita GDP is pretty simple. We're just simply dividing by how many people are in the population, and that helps to find a number that you can compare with other countries to see your state of the economy in one country versus another. So here are our formulas for this section. Your real GDP, remember, accounts for inflation. So it's the GDP minus a little something because usually inflation inflates money, and so you have to subtract off a little bit to find the real GDP, which is usually a lower value. Per capita GDP, simply divide by the population number. And that evens things out so that you can see per person or per capita about how much GDP you have. So that's it for chapter 19. Just a couple sections here to finish off the year, a couple of really interesting concepts I thought in this chapter. But next week is Dead Week, so we're going to move quickly this week into some review activities, which you'll find also in Google Classroom. Oh yeah, one more thing on GDP. You'll find an ed puzzle this week that I uploaded. It's got some cartoon stuff, and I thought it did a really good job of just outlining what a GDP is with some cartoon visuals. So enjoy that, and chapter 19, I think that's a wrap.